Sneads Ferry is located on the North Carolina coast. We're just south of Camp Lejeune. We're about an hour north of Wilmington. Sneads Ferry is split three ways. Primarily here recently it's become a commuter town for our Camp Lejeune personnel who live here and then they go to work on Camp Lejeune. And then another third would be your civilians who are primarily your fishermen and shellfish industry people. And then you've got a lot of retirees, mostly military retirees who come and retire on the beach. My wife and I initially lived in Jacksonville, which is about 20 minutes north of here, on the front side of Camp Lejeune. Very congested place, so we moved to Sneads Ferry to get away from the traffic and the busyness. While I was stationed at Camp Lejeune, my wife and I were members of Grace Baptist Church in Wilmington, and we sought to get involved there as much as possible, a wonderful church. However, in February 2012, gas prices went very, very high, so that trip, it was about an hour trip to church every weekend, got very expensive. We approached the leadership there about the possibility of tuning in on Sunday morning to their live feed service. One thing led to another, we got growth. What was really kind of a Bible study turned into a group of 20-some people with a vision to become a church.
The amount of fellowship and how close it brought all of us was phenomenal. When we started doing Sunday mornings, the Lord worked, and there were new people, doors just opened that we weren't even expecting, and God moved.
I think that this church came at just the right time for our family. Matt and I moved here in May of last year, and in July this church started in our friend's home, and ever since then to see the growth and to see like all of these other couples that we've been a part of with this, we're like a family.
I think what was really unique about our group is we had a group of men who were being very open with one another about their spiritual struggles. A lot of them had just come home from deployment. We were all military, we were all Marines. We were all recognizing the need for local churches to be actively discipling Marines and their families. We sought to engage with some other churches to help us see how could we become a church, what would that mean.
I don't live in Sneads Ferry. I'm not from Sneads Ferry. I really knew nothing about it. I was doing an internship at Heritage Bible Church in Greer, South Carolina. And as I was in different meetings, I ended up hearing about a discussion that the missions pastor was having with some people from Sneads Ferry, North Carolina. And at first I wasn't really much interested. I didn't know much what was going on, but the more I heard about it, this church plant that started from a Bible study and the way God had worked in these people's lives, and now they were doing so many things right. They were looking for a church to help take them under their wing. They were looking for a pastor. I started to perk up my ears to this whole concept. And as I talked to the leadership there, my heart was really knit to one of the leaders there as I heard his heart for these people. I heard the things that they faced. And then when my wife and I visited the church, we loved the people, we saw the needs, and we were excited about being able to actually meet those needs.
A lot of people are there away from home for the first time and trying to figure things out. Our military is young, and in fact the Marine Corps is even it's younger than the other branches.
They struggle with being away from family. They struggle with just seclusion. They struggle with not being able to go to church on a regular basis.
Loneliness, how to handle a paycheck for the first time. The kind of friends that they're choosing, just kind of what to do with themselves. They're still kind of growing up. A lot of military towns try to capitalize on what they can get out of them monetarily speaking. So there's other things out there that can just draw them aside and distract them.
Alcohol, porn, the strip clubs, adultery, divorces, suicides, drugs. All these people with these problems that they are all looking to satisfy a need in their heart.
Being away from her and not being able to see her grow up is very hard for him, especially as she's gotten older. She's asking about daddy, where's daddy? Just the separation for the both of us, I think, has always just been a struggle because he has been gone a lot in our marriage, and he was actually gone for the birth of our daughter. He came home when she was 2 months old.
I think the biggest difficulty while he's deployed is loneliness, because you're supposed to be partners, and for a lot of your marriage, he's gone.
If one of the kids gets sick, just having somebody to call and say, can you take my other kids while I take my other child to the doctor? You know, just people to be there for you and to be your family while your husband's away.
We have to be a church for this community, and this community, to a large extent, is military families. That presents difficulty with the transient nature of the group coming in and out, the men sometimes being a little bit more difficult to connect to. All of these things we can't back down from. We need to take this calling of God for us where He's placed us, love these people, being word-based and gospel-centered and fellowship-intensive and committed to each other, even in a place where it might be difficult, making disciples of people that haven't ever known Christ and some that have. That's what we're called to do here and around the world. What Sneads Ferry really needs is God. They need what He says about their lives and not what man says. They need Him to communicate to them. That's the message that really is going to run through everything that we do at Sneads Ferry Fellowship Church.
We need some good times of interaction, especially at church, those times that we do have with them. We need some good one-on-one time. Guys who can meet and pray at Dunkin' Donuts later in the evening on base. Guys who have internet access overseas even, a lot of our military men do. We need to be talking to them, sending them materials while they are away. It is extremely important. The Bible's made it clear the Lord places authority and responsibility upon that man. And when that man is not leading his home spiritually godly direction, that family is susceptible to many things. If we can reach these men, even though it's challenging, I think we will see an amazing growth within our families, who then, as families go and make disciples, we would see some amazing action for Christ in that way.
As we come together around Him, worshiping Him for what He's done for us, it brings Marines and sailors and white people and black people and Asian people, officers and enlisted men together in the same place, worshiping the same God, loving one another by communicating Christ to each other and helping each other become more like Christ. And if we will love not only our community of believers, but the community around us of unbelievers, we'll do the same thing for them. Make disciples of them. And as people leave Sneads Ferry, which they inevitably do, they will take this disciple-making focus that this church has all over the world. What we need from people is their involvement, whether it's financially, whether it's getting up and moving from someplace other than Sneads Ferry to come and be involved, whether it's people that are involved in other churches that want to come and make disciples, or people who are just looking for a ministry right there in Sneads Ferry to be involved in that they think really reflects God's Word. We want those groups of people, as God leads them, to be involved in this ministry. That's what's going to move it forward as God works in people's hearts. The military population at Sneads Ferry really currently is a stronghold for Satan. What we want to do is take this ripe opportunity through Sneads Ferry Fellowship Church and make it a stronghold for Jesus Christ and His gospel.